So a lot of people ask if you were, if I was scared. It was a scary move to just uproot yourself from Oklahoma and move to California without really knowing anybody. And I say no, it was the opposite. It was thrilling. It was exciting because I was doing what I wanted to be doing. I wasn't mature enough or old enough to know how badly I could fail. Going back to Oklahoma and finishing school just wasn't an option in my mind. I'm very grateful that the business and the fans have allowed me to play around a little bit, not just do one thing. I'm James Marsden, and this is the timeline of my career.
Maggie!
Daddy!
Mr. Sheffield, I was just...
You were just leaving.
Right.
My very first job was the pilot episode of The Nanny, starring Fran Drescher. I had 2 lines. I had just moved to Los Angeles from Oklahoma. I was 19, and I was just young and, I guess, naive enough and confident enough to make the move. I got an apartment, and luckily I had a friend of my father's who was a manager at the time, or he agreed to get me new headshots and send me out on auditions. And this was one of the very first auditions I went on. Again, it was a couple of lines. I was making out with the daughter on a balcony. I was asked to leave the party. It wasn't really any big stretch, but if you weigh that between staying in Oklahoma and working at a fast food restaurant, I was excited and over the moon just to be doing something, anything at all, as a paid actor.
So, you studs lined up who you're taking to the homecoming dance yet?
I was going to take Julia Roberts, but she got married on me.
Hurry, har, har!
Chad Westerfield in Saved by the Bell, the new class. Got to check that off the old career bucket list. That first year of my career in '93, I did a lot of kind of episodic comedy, TV, stuff like that. I did Blossom. I did an episode of Party 5. So it was a lot, like when you're starting out, you kind of just take whatever comes your way. I was a big fan of the original Saved by the Bell. It was a cool, kind of welcoming into the business to be a part of something that I remember sitting on my couch in my living room in Oklahoma watching.
Hurry, har, har! I made a mistake, and I am never going to be forgiven for it. I am always suspect because I screwed up.
My so-called life was just starting to take off. They wanted sort of a Jared Leto, kind of young, long-haired teenager who is one of several adopted kids by this family who also adopt all these animals, hence Second Noah. We shot it on film. It was a ABC primetime family show. That's when I started showing up in Tiger Beat magazine. Remember all those Teen Beat magazines? I remember after we shot the pilot, we had a big kind of dinner party with the cast and the producers at this steakhouse in Tampa, Florida. I think I probably had a drink, and I probably shouldn't have been drinking at the time. And I got up and sang some old standards. And the producer looked at me and she goes, "When this goes to series, you're gonna be in a band." And sure enough, the series got picked up, and she had me singing every episode with my guitar, looking all smoldering and, singing about all my sadness lurking inside.
See what I mean? Where's my sister?
She's upstairs sleeping.
Where are my parents?
At a meeting.
Yeah, what meeting?
Steven, you're hurt.
I'll live.
So I started auditioning for more film roles, and Disturbing Behavior came along. That was David Nutter, who was a really great television director, did a lot of the X-Files. David really wanted to make it really, smarter than your sort of run-of-the-mill teen horror flick, I guess. So it was a little more psychological than some of the other, jump scare teen horror films. And there was this young newcomer to the business named Katie Holmes, and she'd done this show called Dawson's Creek. I was like, well, that seems like really good company. That show's just blowing up. It was the first time for me to be cast in a lead role, really. It's like the guy. I'm on a poster. I'm on a movie poster at a bus stop. There was a building on the side of Sunset Boulevard that was my face plastered on it with Katie Holmes as well, and Nick Stahl. I didn't want to get cocky because I always felt like, as soon as you get comfortable, they're just going to pull the rug out from under you and it's all going to go away. But this was my first foray into doing a film that was going to end up in theaters, which was pretty damn exciting at the time.
It's fine. Gossip and news are the same thing. They've always been the same thing. People tell stories. That's what makes us human.
I was still trying to find my footing as far as what type of roles I really wanted to pursue. You know, I was young and I wanted to be taken seriously as an actor, and I still do, but I think every guy goes through that James Dean period where they want to be Marlon Brando or James Dean, and to do that you have to prove that you're a dramatic actor. You know, that cast was Lena Headey, who we all know now from Game of Thrones, Norman Reedus, who we all know now from Walking Dead, Josh Jackson, Kate Hudson, Eric Bogosian. I mean, it was an insane cast. And Davis Guggenheim directed the movie. And he had me and Lena and Norman share an apartment in Soho in New York City, because these three were roommates. It was the first time I felt like I'm being treated like a significant actor, like someone who's got skills and natural ability and can kind of flow on set. It turned out to be a good film.
I like gossip. It's fun.
It must just burn you up that a boy like me saved your life, huh? You gotta be careful. I might not be there next time. Oh, and Logan, stay away from my girl.
On Gossip, the costume designer, she was getting ready to work on this new Fox film called X-Men, and I was like, what's X-Men? You mean like the comic book X-Men? She was like, you'd be great for one of the roles. You should come in and audition. That's how she talked. I immediately called my friends from Oklahoma that were big comic book nerds, and I said, who's this guy, Scott Summers, Cyclops? Tell me more about him. And they gave me every edition comic that I should read. This is very insightful into who he is and where he comes from. And I also realized that the guy's like 6'5" in the comic, and I'm, 5'10", 5'10 and a half, 5'10 and a quarter. So I remember going into the first audition, they were having me read with Famke. Famke's really tall. So I wore big boots to sort of give myself a little extra height, and like a tight t-shirt, did push-ups, and I did these like curls with my arms to kind of get all pumped, and it's just what you do as an actor. Or I did anyway, I don't do it anymore. I auditioned for X-Men, I think 4 or 5 times. My last audition, I didn't hear back for a while, and I thought, oh well, I'm not even gonna ask my agent who got cast. It'll just bum me out. I remember getting a call thinking that ship had sailed, and I remember them saying, congratulations, you booked Cyclops, you booked X-Men. And I thought, there's no way, that's... how? I think what originally had happened was that Jim Caviezel had been cast. I still thank him to this day for that. For whatever reason he had to drop out for, thanks, because that was a big one. But this cast, with Ian McKellen and Halle Berry, Patrick Stewart, very fresh-faced Hugh Jackman. Hugh and I, we put our suits on for the very first time, and there were these one-piece leather suits that had no side-to-side movement at the waist, because it was all just one piece. And we had to sort of vault over this wall, and none of us could get over the wall because our suits were so stiff. Add to that I couldn't see out of these glasses or the visor that I was wearing. I've never felt less like a superhero. I think at some point we all were scared that we might lose our jobs on the first one. During the process, no one really felt like it was working. Like, this could be cool or it could be a disaster. And we had our premiere on Ellis Island overlooking the Twin Towers with fireworks going off, and it was just like, this is what I imagined when I was a kid of what Hollywood or having success in Hollywood would look like. It was pretty spectacular and a lot of fun to watch it sort of take off. And then even more fun to step into the second one.
No, it's okay. It's okay, it's me. I'm so sorry.
We came back and the scope was bigger, the script was bigger, the costumes were more, fine-tuned and refined, and there was a little more muscle built into the leather and a little more mobility in the movement of the suits, and it was feeling like the train was just starting to take off. They just had the winning formula. The recipe was spot on and it worked, and I got to be a part of it. Something big happened that made us all think, well, we're not sure that they're going to do a third one. There hadn't been a script yet. Bryan Singer left the franchise to go do Superman. They asked if I wanted to play a role in that movie.
That article that you wrote.
Why the world doesn't need Superman?
No, the other one from years ago, before we met.
Well, which article? I wrote dozens about him. I was practically his press agent.
I spent the night with Superman.
Superman had left. Lois Lane had stayed behind and found a human, who was as closest to Superman as possible. And I was like, sure, I'll take that role. And then I heard the wheels started turning much faster on X-Men 3. There was a moment where it felt like it might have been an either or, like, make a choice. It turned out that we were able to work out the schedules. And then when I finished actually shooting Superman Returns, I was able to go back and do a couple of weeks about a week and a half on X-Men 3, where Cyclops meets his end.
What's he doing here?
Staring at us. Oh, miss? I'm all better. Now, how's about that date?
The Notebook was an audition, and I think everybody had been cast at that point. Obviously, it was a tremendous cast and a really interesting character in that he's not like some jerk who's the audience is rooting against him. He's actually a really nice guy. He just met Allie too late. There were moments where it felt like, was this like really schmaltzy? Are people just gonna roll their eyes at this movie? And then I remember seeing some of Ryan and Rachel's scenes and Garner and Jenna Rollins stuff, and I was like, wow, Nick Cassavetes he's making something special here. There was a sense that everyone collectively wanted to elevate the material. I don't know, at the time people would use the phrase chick flick, which I never liked. To me, a movie's either a good movie or a bad one. I'd rather see a great chick flick than a bad action movie. I remember going to the premiere, and it was in Westwood, and they were passing out Kleenexes, and I was like, don't do that, because people are gonna come in and it's gonna ruin their expectations. They're gonna go, you think I'm gonna cry? I don't need this. And they're like, we've tested the movie, trust us. We need them, they need them. And I remember seeing the movie, and I was crying like a baby, like we all did. And I remember going to the bathroom afterwards, and there were grown men splashing water on their face in the bathroom. I was like, man, that was something very, very special.
'Cause it's time for the Corny Collins Show, brought to you by Ultra Clutch Hairspray. Oh, every afternoon when the clock strikes 4.
My agent called and said, hey, what do you feel about doing a musical? Because I think they were considering Ashton Kutcher and Jake Gyllenhaal, a couple other people for the role. And I said, all right, well, when they're not available or when they don't want to do it, I'll be waiting in the wings. And I remember sitting down in New York with Craig, Neil, and Adam Shankman to audition and just to have a general talk about the role. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, a little bar off Broadway. I feel this tap on my shoulder, and it's Julia Roberts. And Julia Roberts leans in and says, I don't mean to interrupt, but I love you in the Notebook. And I stood up as fast as I could and gave her like the most uncomfortable hug. And I said, I love you in everything you do. But then she just said, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, and walked out. In my head, I was like, that had to have just gotten me the role. And then as soon as my brain thought that, Adam Shankman went, I guess we'd be kind of stupid to say no to the guy that Julia Roberts just said hello to and loves your work. That happened, and I got to be Corny Collins. Most fun times in front of the camera I've ever had. It was a party. I've always wanted to do a Broadway musical, but I've always been a little bit of a coward. But Hairspray allowed me to kind of exercise those muscles a little bit. One of the more special projects I've been a part of.
Are you in league with the wicked old hag who sent my poor Giselle to this foul place, Artie?
It's really rare for me to read something and go, I've got it. I know exactly what to do. The closer you get to that feeling, I think the more success you're going to have playing the role, or more fun you're going to have as well. So I remember reading the script of Enchanted and reading this character, Prince Edward, who, just loves the sound of his own voice too much. So I auditioned for it, and they liked the audition, and I remember saying, do you want me to sing? Is that part of the audition? And they were like, oh, no, we're casting for the acting parts. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a bummer. And then and Amy was cast, and they wanted to hear me and Amy sing. We started singing old Disney songs, like just kind of messing around. I think they were surprised. I think they were, because Amy comes from, like, she has got a huge musical theater background. She used to, I don't know if she'd agree with me. She's like, I used to sing on cruise ships. I don't know that qualifies for a huge music background, but I remember sitting in the makeup trailer with her and Idina Menzel, and Amy she was like a fan standing on the side of the road at a premiere, and Idina Menzel walking in front of her every day. It was like, Idina, will you sing 2 lines of Defying Gravity with me? When we had our first read-through of the script, it was Amy and I and Tim, and we had like a rehearsal session, and we were kind of looking at each other like, how big are you gonna go with this? I don't know, how big are you gonna go with it? And we all just kind of went, F it, we gotta go for it. You can't like half-ass this, you gotta like commit.
Don't try my patience.
I know you didn't take my car, Ian. I'm gonna lift up this door, and my big, fucking glorious, bitchy judge is gonna be sitting right there gleaming at me. I got sent this script, which was like a coming-of-age comedy called Sex Drive. And I was at the point where I was like, do I need to go do a coming-of-age comedy, like a Meatballs kind of movie? Although I have a special place in my heart for those types of movies. And I'm like, just take a peek at it, just read the script. And I read the script, and the character was like juicy. That's all I can say. Bleach tips, earring in the right ear, not the left ear, motorcycle jacket, taekwondo pants, like tough guy, redneck. But he was like this abusive older brother who drove this car called the GTO Judge. He was in love with the car, and the younger brother steals it to go on this mission to meet this girl he met online. And I am just determined to find my brother and end him. I just had so much fun. Sometimes I gotta rein myself in with, going a little too over the top. Sometimes over the top works, and I think in that situation it worked.
Very green here, isn't it? It's like so green. Wow, it's like I'm inside a lime.
I got a call from my agent saying, hey, there's a table read for this. It's Chris Rock, it's Martin Lawrence, it's Danny Glover, it's Tracy Morgan. Where do I sign? But it was just a table read at the time. And I'd seen the original, and it was perfect. No one does farce like the Brits. I remember Alan Tudyk played my role. I played his role. This is a guy who is nervous about meeting his fiance's father at a funeral, which is a predominantly black funeral. To calm him down, he takes what he thinks is a Valium, and it's acid. To me, it's like, that's just comedy gold. So I did the table read, got big laughs, and I remember Chris Pine was in the table read as well. We walked out of the table read, and he goes, God, you're gonna get that role, and that's the role that I want. I was like, oh, what, you wanted I was like, it's the best role in the movie. I said, I don't know if I'm getting it, but he goes, after what you just did in the read-through, it's yours. And he was right, I ended up getting the role. It was the coolest acting exercise because it was like, I can't do anything wrong. I'm on acid. Whatever the script says, okay, but all of a sudden this plant looks like a llama and I want to talk to it, so you gotta follow me over there to talk to the llama. I'd never done acid. Too much of a chicken shit. And I remember like, who's gonna know what an acid trip is like? Teamsters in their 50s and 60s that grew up in LA and grew up in the 70s, and like, hey, what's this like? And you go, oh well, the trees would sort of be vibrating. The trees would be purple, and see the telephone wires, they would be sort of vibrating and so every day I would ask a new Teamster like, what was their experience on acid? And that was my preparation for the role.
I know you were looking.
Liz, there's someone in the apartment. Someone who thinks you're special in every single way. I wrote this song to wish you a happy Valentine's Day.
Chris Cross on 30 Rock, there was like a time period where people like Matt Damon and John Hamm and these people were showing up and being boyfriends to Liz Lemon. I thought, yeah, good company to keep. And who knew that, like, after the first season, the season that I did, I think it was the 6th, I was like, I doubt I'll be asked to come back. Usually it's like, they'll have a new boyfriend for Liz every season. Not to say anything disparaging about Liz. I mean, she's not that kind of girl. But she never really had the best luck with the boyfriends. So I thought for sure I wasn't coming back, and they said, hey, Robert Carlock, one of the head writers there, a brilliant man, said, we'd love to have you come back for another season. We want you all to get married. I was like, Chris Cross and Liz Lemon getting married? Okay. It was perfectly written. It was meta humor. It was another one that was just firing on all pistons. It was like, I think the first time in my career that I was like with the major league players of comedy.
Yeah, this is the chorus!
Chris!
Because you pretty much destroyed my career. You realize what it did to me by making me call myself Jack Lame? It was a living hell! I had to get a new driver's license. I can't get restaurant reservations!
Again, another story of me doing the read-through. I sat in the read-through with Will and everyone from the original one. I got lucky in the read-through again, and it got huge laughs. With like Seth Rogen and Jonah Hill were all in there, and everyone was laughing. It was a surprise that Marsden was funny. It was sort of the general feeling. And Will told me later, he goes, I saw you in a movie called Sex Drive. You were so damn funny in that, and that's why I want you to be in this movie. So that's how I got cast as Jack Lame. Just being on that set with those guys and listening to them riff off of each other and talk about another party. It was just like, you wake up excited to go to work and just to hang out. It was so relaxed and so ridiculous.
It's like a frat or Kiss Army. You're in it for life.
But maybe someday soon, we'll have the life we've both been dreaming of.
No, you never will.
Everyone knew at that time HBO was in a whole other level. I was shooting a movie called Two Guns with Wahlberg and Denzel Washington, and my agent said, hey, I know we're wanting to concentrate on films more right now, but Jonathan Nolan has written a brilliantly crafted show for HBO. I Skyped with Jonah, and we sat on the phone call for about a half hour, and he just told me what his ideas were and what the philosophies of the shows were. And I had very limited access to scripts. I read the first episode, I think, and nothing beyond that. And he gave me a little bit of information about where it would go. Existential, where we're going with humanity, and what is consciousness, and when does that begin and end. And they ended up casting Evan and I. I quickly got to be pretty proficient with a pistol and on a horse. They didn't want you learning too quickly on the horses. You had to walk around Melody Ranch on a horse, walking them. You couldn't get them over a canter or even a trot with a bicycle helmet on, and you just felt kind of ridiculous. We would get on set, and we wouldn't have the helmets on, obviously. We had cowboy hats, and they'd go, okay, just come screaming over this hill as fast as you can on the horse. It was a little bit of like, holy shit. I hope I don't fall off this thing. They were very measured about when the cast got the scripts. And as the scripts kind of came along while you were shooting, you started to realize, what was going on and where these characters were going. So it was an amazing experience to sort of watch it all unfold. It was cool to see Teddy's evolution, and you see these classic tropes of the Wild West gunslinger who saves the fair maiden, and you just turn that on its head. And all of a sudden, Evan is the tough guy and the hot shot, and she doesn't need saving at all. So rewriting that playbook a little bit, it's been a special, special experience.
I got some reckoning to do before I can be with her.
It's the government whack job who keeps trying to kill us. Unsuccessfully. Nice of you to swing by on your way to Comic-Con.
Yeah, what are you wearing?
It's a flight suit designed to modulate my body temperature and reduce drag.
Yeah, and yet you still are one.
And this is another one. Sonic was just like, hey, let's have fun. It was another opportunity for me to tick off two more boxes, which is one, be a part of the iconic Sonic coming to the big screen. Two, work with one of my heroes, Jim Carrey. What can I say about the guy? He informed so much of what I did in high school and in college, and wanting to be an actor and wanting to be a comedian in physical comedy. To be opposite him, screaming at you and berating you and punching you, it was a lot of fun. That movie mixes perfectly, bringing this beloved character to the big screen with big, cool action sequences, and I get paid to do this? Why? This is just fun.
Punched him in the face.
Oh, he punched him right in the face.
Hi, Judy.
Hi.
I want to talk. Hello, Abe.
Hello, Steve. You asshole.
So I was really tired after Sonic. I was like, I don't want to do anything. And my agent was like, look, Liz Feldman wrote this thing, and Jessica Elbaum, who I worked with, of course, with Anchorman, and she was like, Marsden, you'd be great as this guy, and it's Christina and Linda Cardellini who love you, and he's a bit of a douche, but I'm like, played those guys, and how do we make him interesting? And I got on the phone with Liz Feldman. She goes, look, just read the first couple of episodes. I think there's a great opportunity to be this kind of jerk, douchebag, dickweed, and have so much fun with it, and to the point where you're making fun of those kind of guys. I was reading it and just laughing out loud, going, oh my God, this is so much fun to play this guy. He's so despicable. But he's a baby, like a big wimp. And then just, again, another one, like, oh, this is a lot of fun. This is, I'm having a good time playing this dirtbag. I don't know what that says about me. People loved it, and it was exactly what people needed at the time. Sometimes it's just on the page, like, oh, this is really funny. Can I be a part of this? I'm interested to see where the industry goes and where this business goes. But we're always going to want storytelling. We're always going to want to laugh. We're always going to want to cry and feel and have somebody take us down that path. It sounds kind of dorky, I know, but that's the human condition. We're always going to want that, and I feel pretty fortunate to have been accepted into this industry and that world where people want to see you on the screen. It's a great feeling when someone taps you on the shoulder, be it Julie Roberts or be it you know, just a random fan on the street, that you made an impact on somebody. That's the stuff that I hunt. Those are the roles that I look for. And there's always something new that's coming from it. I feel very lucky, and you know, you just want to keep doing it as long as you can keep doing it.